I felt hours go by without knowing what happened to them. Hours that turned into days, days that turned into months, and there have even been years which I can't recall with any significance. I recognized the illness that plagues my mind after reading The Moviegoer by Walker Percy. I had recognized it before too when I came across Proust, and I'm sure I recognized it prior to that as well, but I can't remember now. Which makes this illness particularly tricky to deal with because the mind aids the sickness. This illness is the everydayness of life, the mundane moments that go unremembered as my mind and my thoughts dwell in a hopeful future. A future where I travel to Rome or Japan, hoping that these moments can cure the everydayness and leave lasting memories of being alive. But as Proust said, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeing new sights, but in looking with new eyes. Similarly, Walker Percy put forth the idea of the search. It's not the new worlds you should seek out, but rather see the beauty in the everyday that can and should leave a mark on your life. Percy said, "The search is what anyone would undertake if he were not sunk in the everydayness of his own life. To become aware of the possibilities of the search is to be onto something. Not to be onto something is to be in despair." Walker Percy further explains the idea with regards to movies. He says, the movies are onto the search, but they screw it up. The search always ends in despair. They like to show a fellow coming to himself in a strange place, but what does he do? He takes up with the local librarian, sets about proving the local children what a nice fellow he is, and settles down with a vengeance. In 2 weeks' time, he's sunk in everydayness that he might just as well be dead. Percy warns one not to fall into a pattern of known motion, the daily, weekly, and monthly routines that make you feel like just a piece of metal on a conveyor belt being moved from one spot to another. Instead, he urges you to be observant, to see the changing world around you through which you have been unconsciously drifting. So to search means to observe. Percy says, people have a different way of sticking themselves into the world. It's a small thing to him, but not to me. It's nothing to him to close his eyes in New Orleans and wake up in San Francisco and think the same thoughts on Telegraph Hill that he thought on Carondelet Street. Me, it's my fortune or misfortune to know how the spirit presence of a strange place can enrich a man or rob a man but never leave him alone. How if a man travels lightly to 100 strange cities and cares nothing for the risk he takes, he may find himself no one and nowhere. Without the active struggle to see your own surroundings as something worth seeing and exploring, you might find yourself blind and unaware, regardless if you're standing in front of an old library or the Colosseum. If you don't know how to see properly, moments will simply drift in and out of you and leave behind just the faintest recollections of themselves. Life, in turn, will just be a dull light instead of a blinding brilliance that it's capable of being. Percy said, "For he is no more aware of the mystery that surrounds him than a fish is aware of the water it swims in." The search is there for one to enrich their own life. It's a selfish ambition to make your own life one of awe and beauty. Percy said, "No, I do it for my own selfish reasons. If I did not talk to the theater owner or the ticket seller, I should be lost, cut loose metaphysically speaking. I should be seeing one copy of a film which might be shown anywhere and at any time. There's a danger of slipping clean out of space and time. It's possible to become a ghost and not know whether one's in downtown Lowe's in Denver or suburb Bijou in Jacksonville. So it was with me. This is an active effort to find the unique experiences in everyday life. To go out of your way to talk to the theater owner or the ticket seller, as Percy said, or to give conscious thought to the movie seat or the aroma of the theater. The little things like that matter, otherwise life is a blur. Think about all the time you spend in traffic just going from one place to the next. If you can find some kind of beauty or uniqueness in those mundane moments, then you can enrich your own life. Percy said, "Yet it was here in Tivoli that I first discovered place and time and tasted it like okra. It was during a re-release of Red River a couple of years ago that I became aware of the first faint strings of curiosity about the particular seat I sat in. The lady in the ticket booth, as Montgomery Clift was whipping John Wayne in a fistfight, an absurd scene. I made a mark on my seat arm with a thumbnail, where I wondered, where will this particular piece of wood be in 20 years from now, 543 years from now? Once I was traveling through the Midwest 10 years ago. I had a layover for 3 hours in Cincinnati. There was time to go see Joseph Cotton and Holiday at a neighborhood theater called Altamont, but not before I had struck up an acquaintance with the ticket seller, a lady named Miss Claire James, and learned that she had 7 grandchildren all living in Cincinnati. We still exchange Christmas cards. Miss James is the only person I know in the entire state of Ohio. To walk through life blind and deaf seems like an awful waste of potential. Knowing I've done that at different points in my life is a painful reminder of the wasted opportunity. However, if I can actively observe and find the beauty in the mundane, and know that everything in nature has its own value, at least for those moments I can fight the everydayness. Thanks to Percy's novel, I'm reminded of the life around me, and in the future, I may be momentarily defeated by the everydayness, but it will never be a permanent defeat, for the search is always there, waiting for you, ready to enlighten your world. For now, I make the same vow as Percy, who said, "Nevertheless I vow, I'm a son of a bitch if I'll be defeated by the everydayness."